So I've been slowly building a list of everything that needs to get done on the car. So here's what I have. Let's try and see how much we can get knocked out on each episode. So first, cooling system. We are gonna make a swirl pot that comes off of the thermostat. So I had to do some looking into which direction it is. It comes out of the water pump into the thermostat to the lower radiator hose through the radiator top into the top port. For swirl pots, it's really important to build it on the port that is going to the radiator because the motor will aerate the coolant. The swirl pot will remove any of the air, and then it will be able to be, the radiator will be able to be quite a bit more efficient with no air in it, just coolant. So I'm really hoping that this is a good cooling mod. So the water will come into the top, swirl around. From there, all of the air should be able to separate from the coolant. And then from the bottom side of the reservoir, we will have 1.5 inch aluminum tubing that'll go to the radiator. Again, have it swirl out of the pot, making the flow as easy as possible. So here's the flange that I just cut out. Basic 1/2 inch aluminum, just cut a hole in it, used a punch to transfer these two holes. So here I go on and talk about how I wanted to use a 2-inch tube coming out of the thermostat housing. My idea was it was going to gain more volume over pressure, allowing more volume into the swirl pot. Unfortunately, I talked to people who know, and that is not the correct method to do it. From there, I just got sick of bringing the project back and forth to work to home to test fit it. I got everything to fit. I started welding everything, ground down and cleaned up the insides. You can see the inlet and how the outlet both swirl in and out of the pot. I did make and design this swirl pot in such a way that it would fit an OEM application. It doesn't have to be as wild and crazy as my car. Obviously, instead of AN fittings, there would be knurled ends for a standard radiator hose. If they do indeed perform the way that I'm hoping they do, I would like to start producing these for other EVO 10s. So if you're interested, shoot me a message and maybe it'll help speed up the process to get these into production sooner. So here we have it, is the swirl pot for an EVO 10. We've got where it comes out of the thermostat, it goes back into the radiator, got our new fill cap. The only thing left to do is put a pressure bung for the coolant drain of the turbo. So So here you can see the finished product of the swirl pot. Bolts to the OEM thermostat housing. And then I've got a dash 20 underneath the intercooler pipe that'll run to the low radiator. I'm relocating the filler neck here. It's just as high as the motor. It's higher than the turbo. It's higher than the heater core, so it should make this fairly easy to bleed. Also, it'll allow for plenty of room for my intake to come around. To wrap up the radiator cooling, I have a aluminum coil rad radiator. I've since had to cut off the fitting. I welded a big smooth flowing elbow, mainly to allow for the radiator to fit underneath the fitting, with the other slight just turn from the coil rad. It didn't allow for that large of a radiator. And then for the underside, again, slight modification. I put tape on it just so it doesn't get dinged up as I move it around. But here's the lower radiator hose. You can see it goes up to the swirl pot. So that is the cooling system done, minus designing the fan shroud.